How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. Good to see some new faces. Look forward to these next 2 days against the Lions. Good football team. So we're excited to get going here.
Coach, outside of the obvious going up against another team, what are you most excited about seeing from your team competing against Detroit in these two practices?
Yeah, it's all about competition. So it's good. You've been going against each other for the last couple weeks. New faces, new schemes. Good football team. So we're excited to get out there.
How much do you view this as a litmus test? You know that this was a team that was obviously in the NFC Championship game this close to the Super Bowl, and you went against them last year, so you kind of had an idea maybe last summer where you stood against them?
Yeah, again, every year is a new year. We got a lot of respect for these guys. We're going to focus on doing well our part, doing our technique, our fundamentals, and have 2 good days of practice.
Are you interested or excited? Are you just to see the new kickoff, I guess, a little bit more, against another squad?
Yeah, I think it'll be a work in progress through preseason games. In the early part of the season, we'll do punt today. Tomorrow we'll do that. So it'll be good to go against each other, evaluate it, go back, tweak some things. That'll be a work in progress, really, from it has been all the way through the preseason.
From your time working with quarterbacks, and looking at Jared Goff, what's allowed him to have success the last couple of years here in Detroit?
Well, he's been good for a while. He went to the Super Bowl. He's big. He's accurate. He throws on time. Got a lot of good pieces around him. Got a lot of respect for Jared, his game, him as a person. He's played well since he's been in the league.
Will you treat these 2 days, specifically for Daniel, will you treat these 2 days as his preseason game and then sit him on Thursday?
Yeah, we're just going to focus on these 2 days. We'll go through all that later on in the week, but expect him to go out there and practice well.
Big picture, how important is it for you to get
He's done everything, Daniel, so far. Are you going to just let him go today, or are you going to any restrictions on him today at all?
No, he'll practice like he normally has. Again, it's practice. It's a competitive practice against 2 teams. We'll try to do it the right way. Dan and I have talked about it. We talked about it last year. I thought we got a lot out of it. But again, it's practice. It's just a higher tempo practice because you're practicing against somebody else.
Back to the preseason for just 1 second. Big picture, how important do you think it is for him coming off the knee injury to get in preseason action at some point this summer?
Yeah, that's not where my mind's at right now, Jordan. We'll talk about that. We'll go out there, work on today, work on tomorrow, and as we get going through preseason, we'll do what we think is best for our team.
Any change to the injury status?
Of anybody?
JMS?
No, everybody's the same. The people that will come back today are Bryce Ford and DJ Davidson will do a little bit more. Other than that, everything's consistent.
What's wrong with DJ?
DJ he had a lower leg, but we backed off a little bit. He'll do more today.
You had the benefit of doing this last year. We're always trying to adjust and get better in everything we do. Is there any adjustments that you learned from last year that you're going to try to apply this year to how the operation runs?
I thought it was pretty smooth last year at Detroit, and I think the departments, they talk back and forth. They've been doing this for a while, getting things scheduled, organization of the field. Again, I really got a lot of respect for Brad, for Dan, for everybody at Detroit. Laura Young has been outstanding in terms of setting everything up here. It's been good communication. Feel like we have a pretty good plan, a pretty good routine. You always make subtle changes, but working with the people at Detroit, they're good people, good to work with. So hopefully we get some good work out of it.
You knew he was a good player when you traded for him, but through 2 weeks of watching Brian Burns on the practice field, what stood out?
Yeah, he's a good player. He's rushed well. He's played the run well. He's got good leadership skills. He's helped out in his room with the other players. Glad we got him.
With JMS down, you keeping Van Roten strictly at center?
We are.
Why not give him any guard reps?
Yeah, he'll get guard reps eventually, but Carm's been with him for a long time, so he's done that at LA, maybe not at Las Vegas, maybe not in games last year, but Carm has a lot of confidence in his ability to do that, and it's good for him to get in, get all the calls. That'll help eventually when he gets to guard. But he's done a good job of picking our stuff up in a short amount of time, and some of it, there's some similarity with it. But good leadership, good communication, and JMS is not in there. We're going to put him in there right now and let him go.
How beneficial is it for a guy like Malik and other players also to have different matchups now, different guys, different competition, different everything?
Yeah, I think it's great for everybody. It's really good for the players. It's good for the coaches. It's good for the scouting departments. That's why I like to compete and practice against other teams. You get, again, different looks, scouted looks. You have to fall back on rules. There's no game planning. They might do something completely different than our guys do on defense or offense or in the kicking game, and that's how you learn. And then you get good evaluation of players going against different players than they've been going against for the past 10 practices.
When you say no game planning, I mean, like it's just all bets are, you can line up and do what you want. You can line up, in the team periods, it's kind of like. No.
Yeah, you can do that, but you're not looking, I don't want to speak for Detroit, I would assume it's the same. You're not game planning and trying to, you're running your offense and doing things you need to do to continue to get better for training camp. It's training camp practice, but it's more competitive because it's against another team.
One of the
How do you think Dan Campbell is effective at coaching his personality into his team?
Well, I got a lot of respect for Dan. Dan was the tight end coach for me when I was a coordinator. He's got great energy. He is who he is. He's smart. He does a good job of motivating the guys. I'm speaking back when I was a coordinator and with him, not knowing him in his role. But he's got a lot of great intangibles. I got a lot of respect for him.
one of the matchups within the matchup against that'll get a lot of attention is your young secondary against a veteran quarterback and a top whatever 5 receiver in this league. What are you looking for out of your young DBs here?
To compete. It'll be good to see them against those guys. They have great talent. They've done a great job of drafting the last few years with Brad. They're a lot of talent, speed, quickness. It's not just at the receiver position. Laporta, Gibbs, they've done a really good job of bringing guys in that have contributed very quickly with the skill set that they've had in college, and it's really transferred over to the scheme that they use, the personnel, how they use it. This will be a good challenge against, and then you add the offensive line to that, which is really the start of it all. It's a damn good offense.
Brian, can you talk about how Carm has been working with the offensive linemen, the injured guys, and the shuffling, and just how he's keeping everybody on the same page, his approach there?
Yeah, probably no different than many O-line coaches in the league. That's what this time of year is about. You'd love to have all 5 guys out there. We have injured players, so you have to do that. And you have to have alternative plans if something happens in the early part of the year. So again, that's something that all offensive line coaches do. Carm's done a really good job with it. Really nice to get everybody out there so we can get some consistency with it.
Brian, when you have these joint practices, do your scouts look at the other team just in case September rolls around and you need?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's good for the competition, like Ryan asked about. It's also good for the evaluation part of it because not every player is going to make a team, and you might see somebody that stands out that maybe doesn't make it, and you have some history with them, or you're able to evaluate them a little bit more closely than you would than just on tape through a couple practices. So absolutely.
What have you seen from the chemistry that Daniel has been able to develop with Malik? Obviously, he didn't get to fully do it in the spring, but now that they have the full time here this summer.
Yeah, I think it's growing every day. Again, Malik's rookie. Daniel's coming back from a surgery. Those guys work hard in individual routes. Obviously, in team periods, I think each day it's gotten better and better. There's a lot of nuances to the passing game. We ask him to do a lot, so we're throwing, maybe it's a different route, a couple different routes each day to make sure that we're getting the timing and the rhythm down. And if we need to get it again, we go back to another practice or the practice after that to make sure we're continuing to build that chemistry.
Does having 4 healthy tight ends limit anything today, or what you guys can do?
No. You'd like to have more, but we'll mix and match personnel groups to make sure. And if we have to pull back or change a couple things based on how practice goes, that's what we'll do.